How do you know that you're depressed? Now, I can tell you a little thing or two about depression because at one point I was depressed. I was on antipsychotic or not antipsychotic, but probably antidepressants. So for 2.5 years, I was daily taking Prozac to help me with my mood and to help me with my feelings of depression. And to a point that I started to have suicidal thoughts. And once that started, I figure I didn't want to live. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that are feeling depressed and that they are on this drug and they are feeling without a place to go or not fitting into some sort of society. But I am here to share with you that it's okay to have those feelings, because if something has happened to you and you have not been able to deal with, it's because it's still hunting you. And so you have to remember one thing: what triggers it. So let's talk about that. So, how do you know that you're depressed? Is it something that you saw, something that you see? Is it something that you hear? Is it something that you feel inside? Is it something that when you taste something reminds you of an experience that makes you feel sad? Or sometimes is it a smell? Those last two senses are very, very powerful because they connect very deep at a very soul level. So think about this for a moment. We respond through our senses. uh, Basically, something happens, there is a stimulus response, we react a certain way. It's not that we respond, we react. So sometimes it's something that we see that symbolizes an experience that was very bad or awkward for us. Sometimes it's something that someone says, especially if you have been as a child verbally abused, and somebody said things to make you feel in a certain way, and as an adult you are carrying that, and as a result you have become depressed. So it's sometimes it symbolizes, if somebody says something, it reminds you of something that was said to you. Sometimes it's an internal feeling. I wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling this feeling as if, like, I don't even want to be here. Have you ever had those feelings? I'm sure that some people out there have. I have. And so, but then I quickly realized how lucky I am. Before, in the past, I decided to choose pharmaceuticals to deal with it. But then a few years later, I decided to focus more on my health and focus more on controlling my own mind when I felt those feelings. And even to this day, this is how I cope. I no longer take any antidepressants, and I don't have feelings, any suicidal feelings like I did when I was taking uh, that Prozac. And but now I have learned I have learned to change what I associate to whatever has happened to me, that it created this path of destruction in my life, or created this belief that I'm not good enough. So it took a lot of personal growth. It took a lot of learning from other people's experience, because at one point I figured that I was carrying the heaviest cross, and I did not know that I wasn't until I realized that other people has had it worse. So no matter what my circumstances are, other people has had it worse. Now, does that make me feel any better about myself? No, because I'm not comparing my experience to anybody else's experience, and none of us should. But I am here to say to you that to you can manage the most important thing, which is your mind. You can control your mind, because ultimately is the thought that creates that reaction in the body. And if I let that thought brew in my mind for a few hours, I will be totally depressed under the covers and probably covered from head to toe, not wanting to talk to the world or anybody. And so, how do you deal when you're feeling those feelings of depression? I know if I'm depressed, I know. And sometimes my husband will say, "Are you depressed or something?" Well, I'm not going to admit it, but yeah, I am. Sometimes I am. And I don't even know where it comes from. I've heard that sometimes these feelings of depressions, they're not even our own feelings. They're the feelings from somewhere else, things that we're picking up in the realm of whatever we live in this planet. So, how to deal with it? What has helped me is if a depressive feeling starts to happen, because the way that it happens to me, I start feeling like sad. I start feeling something inside, and believe it or not, as I entertain that thought more, then my physiology starts to decay. That means that I'm starting to feel a little sluggish. I start to feel like I have no energy, and I have this feeling that I want to cry, but I don't even know why. And sometimes, it's our emotions that are sitting way, way, way down there in our unconscious mind. And so what do? We appeal to our unconscious mind to release whatever is in there, and to let it go, and to take that experience and make it a learning. Because when we make it a learning, then we know that it's something useful for me, something useful for someone out there. So it's okay to have those feelings. That doesn't mean that we need to label ourselves and say, I'm depressed. Because the moment I say, I'm depressed, now I created a complete identity around that feeling. But the idea is, and of course, pharmaceutical companies have come along and say, hey, we have the pill for every ill. We have that one for you too. So I'm not saying that they're not good. They do help. They do help some people. They do help. Probably they helped me when I took it, but it was also counterproductive because of the feelings that I was having. And then later on, the company admitted that that was one of the side effects. And thank God that I'm here today. So, how do I deal with it? Just change it. If a thought or a feeling, change your physiology. Maybe stand up a little straighter. Sometimes it's from going from here to this, and it changes immediately. It changes the dynamics. And if it's a thought that is creating that feeling inside, then focus on something else. Move, get up, or think another thought. We're thinking machines. We can think anything we want. So think another thought. Think of something good. Think of something that you are grateful for. That's the key. So for me, when I'm feeling depressed, because I do feel depressed sometimes, then that's when I look for the gratitude. Look for the things that I'm grateful for. So I know that your story is different than my story, but I feel already a winner. I already feel that I have leveled up in my life. I feel that I have grown because I didn't get stuck. I didn't get stuck on the past. I feel that the past has been a great experience for me. I feel that even though at the moment it wasn't so, and probably you are feeling the same way, and say, I'm stuck. But the only way that we get unstuck, if you say, I am stuck, so the best way to get unstuck is to go do something, go create something. Seriously, find some kind of hobby, Find some way to give to others. Find something that takes away the the focus on you and how you're feeling at that moment, and think about giving to someone else. Because the moment that you go into that state of wanting to give to someone else, that's the moment that you start to control those feelings of depression. So I wanted to say to you, whatever event we have gone through, I'm not trying to forget. I'm not trying to deny, because no one ever forgets. But the key is we can choose to change the thoughts. We can choose the feelings we feel. If we were triggered by something that someone said, especially if it's an insult, there is something that I learned. I don't know if it's true, but there was a philosopher that said that if somebody offers you a gift and you refuse to get that gift, to whom does that gift belong to? Obviously, to the person that's trying to give the gift. So if it's an insult, if you refuse what they said to you to make you feel bad, who does that gift belongs to? Who does that insult belongs to? It belongs to the person who insulted you. So that's one way of treating an insult. But what if it's a smell? What if it's a taste? Well, heck, if something reminds you of something that you don't want to feel reminded of, do something else. If it's a smell, put on some perfume. If it's a taste, go take something else, like eat an apple. If it's the apple is the one that is creating the feeling, then have an orange, have something else. The idea is always replacing, because the only way that we're ever going to control our mind is by continue to replace all these thoughts and all these feelings that don't serve us anymore. So I want to encourage you to follow through, that if you ever in a situation like this where you're starting to feel depressed, stand up, get up, and do something. Give of yourself to others, so you take that focus off of you. That's why sometimes they say, if you're depressed, go exercise. If you're depressed, go do something. So get a hobby, get something that will help you feel better. So do whatever it takes for yourself. Take care of yourself and love yourself more. Because whatever happened, it happened. We cannot change that. The only thing that we can change is how we feel about it, or what we associate to it today, in today's currency. Whatever's in the past, it's gone, it's done. Now is all we have. So gratitude is the best way that we can change how we feel about things in the world and how we feel about ourselves. So thank you for watching today. This is your Flexitarian friend, Jay Tanti. Until then, have a happy, healthy, and wealthy day. Ciao.